Let me speak directly to Jon Stewart for just a few seconds. And I know he watches. He's a big fan of the show.
Guilty as charged. I watch it every night with all my friends. Continue, Mr. Goldberg.
When you had Frank Rich on your show, who generalizes all the time about conservatives and Republicans being bigots, you didn't ask him a single tough question. You gave him a lap dance. You practically had your tongue down his throat.
Guilty as charged. Was that televised? I don't want to say anything, but Frank Rich hasn't been on the show since 2006. I mean, since I gave Frank Rich that lap dance, I don't know if you noticed, but I went back in the champagne room with Bill Kristol like 5 times. And if you watch this show, as it appears you have, you must remember me and McCain like bunnies. But I guess that's besides the point. Here's the point. You can't criticize me for not being fair and balanced. That's your slogan. Which, by the way, you never follow. Which brings us back to the essence of the whole go f yourselves piece.
You're just a safe Jay Leno with a much smaller audience, but you get to say the F-bomb, which gives your incredibly unsophisticated audience the illusion.
You're generalizing.
The illusion that you're courageous and that you're a renegade, but it's only an illusion.
Wait! I'm not a courageous renegade, but I've always considered myself the Lorenzo Lamas of late night. I thought my audience was elitist. Are they elitist or unsophisticated? Or unsophisticated in their elitism? Look, I'm sorry I told you to go f yourself last week, and that other time, like 6 months ago, I told you to go f yourself. I know that I criticize you and Fox News a lot, but only because you're truly a terrible, cynical, disingenuous news organization. Oh, wait, no, you know what? That's the wrong approach. That's the wrong approach. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be confrontational. I want to take a minute to talk directly to Bernie Goldberg. Baby, I don't want to fight, baby. And I know you've been hurt before by them liberal elites.
They done you wrong, Bernie.
Don't let that close your heart, brother. I don't hate you. I mean, you're not Dick Morris.
Yeah, what is wrong with that guy?
Yeah, seriously.
He's starting to look like that guy from Men in Black.
Which one?
You know, from the first one, the guy who came down and walked around in other people's skin.
What, Shaloub? You talking about?
No.
The Vincent D'Onofrio guy.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's right, okay. You see, I've learned people are complicated, Bernie, and hard to categorize. I mean, I've got some conservative views.
He's a pro-military mother. Peace to the troops.
I've got some libertarian views.
Legalize it.
Gay marriage.
Uh-huh.
Pot.
Uh-huh.
Gay pot marriage.
Now you make it up.
And I know that I can be intolerant.
Lactose and otherwise, don't let this man eat blizzards.
And I believe this country should provide some kind of social safety net for our most vulnerable citizens.
Communists.
And I also believe power should be passed down to the firstborn son of the reigning king.
Monarchists.
And I believe in ghosts.
Boo!
But I will tell you this, Bernie Goldberg. Oh, Bernie Goldberg, I will tell you this, Bernie Goldberg.
I'll tell you, Bernie. I'll tell you, Bernie. I'll tell you, Bernie. I'll tell you, Bernie.
Oh, yeah, Bernie Goldberg. You can criticize my interviews.
They're good.
Yes, they can be.
Incoherent.
That's the editing.
Not funny.
I try to be funny.
Why don't you watch the movie?
I don't have time to watch all the guest movies. My point is this.
He's got a point now. He's got a point now. He's got a point now. He's got a point now.
Bernie Goldberg, I don't need to satisfy your version of what fair satire is or should be. I'm not fair. I'm not balanced.
He's unstable.
That's not what I meant.
He's Coco Loco.
Thank you. You're criticizing me for not living up to your tagline. Oh, Lord! And you dismiss any criticism as further evidence of how the rest of the media persecute you. You like to pretend, Bernie Goldberg and Fox News, that the relentless conservative activism of Fox News is the equivalent, the equivalent of the disorganized liberal influence you find on NBC, ABC, and CBS. But Fox News, you may be able to detect a liberal pathogen in their bloodstream, however faint. But Fox News is such a crazy overreaction to that perceived threat. You're like an autoimmune disorder. I'm not saying the virus doesn't exist in some small quantity, but you're producing way too many antibodies. Fox News, you're the lupus of news. So, I guess what I'm saying is this.
Go!
As long as fair and balanced is how you sell yourselves, guess what I'm saying is this.
Yourself!
So now that House Republicans have made the incredibly unpopular move of forcing a shutdown in the United States government so as to save us all from having the king bang our wives, there's only one thing left to do. Fox, to the damage control station! Man the straw man!
I wonder if it's going to be like the sequester, where before the sequester we heard, the sky essentially is going to fall, it's going to be awful, you're going to feel the pain immediately. Not so much.
The worst thing that happens is some museums close and someone can't go to the Statue of Liberty.
We were all warned the sky was going to fall. Well, you woke up this morning and the sun came up, didn't it?
Yeah, no one told you the sky would fall. No one told you that a government shutdown had the same effect as an asteroid hitting the planet. Although, quick note, the government shutdown did affect the program that would tell us if that was happening. But the point is, on Fox, no biggie.
When the president came out yesterday and he went through the list of what wasn't going to change, he said, well, we'll have air traffic controllers, Medicare, you got to go to a doctor. I was sitting there going, wait a second, he's making the case for the Republicans. This sounds pretty good.
Maybe I'm just one of the few people. I'm just not, this doesn't impact me mentally. We've had 17 government shutdowns, Governor. I'm not afraid of a couple of weeks of government being shut down.
How bad can it be if it doesn't personally impact Sean Hannity? I mean, it's not like they shut down Smith and Walensky for private events. I mean, that would really be f***ed up. Or closed our nation's strategic flag graphic reserves. Or if Roger Ailes implemented a no grunting policy in the Fox men's room. Now is the time for an adult conversation about how our government makes its most important decisions and functions in crisis. And to lead that discussion, I give you our national media.
President Obama's so-called latte salute.
Holding a cup in his right hand.
The great coffee escapade.
Coffeegate.
President Obama in hot water.
Some people think it was disrespectful. Hashtag latte salute.
The coffee salute went viral.
A lot is blowing up online.
We are so I don't even know what to do. First of all, we're currently fighting, if I may say, so apparently we're currently fighting ISIS and Ebola, two things that are literally blowing up and going viral. So if you're not going to cover the important stuff, at least don't use words that remind us of the important stuff you're not covering. Okay. Now, to be fair, Lattegate wasn't all the news talked about yesterday, but where I might have given the president salutes with coffee cup story an espresso-sized shot of attention, the news channels went for the full double venti coverage, with one network going especially deep.
Learn the proper respect of the salute.
It's insensitive.
What's the meaning of it? That's it. It looks terrible.
It's outlandish, and it's disappointing.
Put your coffee in the other hand.
Our commander-in-chief displayed his complete disrespect for the men and women in uniform.
Shut up. You don't really care. You don't really care about this. You have no principle about this. You're just trying to score points in a game that no one else is playing. Here's how we know.
It's an arrogance that he portrays. These people put their lives on the line for us.
You're right.
Show the respect. Salute these guys.
So the principle here is show respect for the people who are putting their lives on the line for this fight. Here's Eric Bolling on that very same episode.
The first female pilot piloting for the UAE dropped the bombs on ISIS on Monday night.
Would that be considered boobs on the ground or no?
First of all, forget the rampant sexism in that statement. Second of all, she's a pilot, so whatever gender-specific equipment she might be carrying is in the air. And thirdly, what was the quote that someone said earlier in your program? These people are putting their lives on the line for us. Show respect. So you and all your false patriotism. And to be frank, oftentimes this show is critical of Fox, but only because they're terrible. Like sometimes almost shockingly terrible. For instance, 2 weeks ago, Justice Department released a report on the Ferguson, Missouri Police Department's shooting of Michael Brown, basically exonerating Officer Darren Wilson and debunking the hands up, don't shoot narrative. And then they released a second DOJ report stating that the Ferguson Police Department routinely violates the Constitution and federal law with a pattern of racial bias, unreasonable force, intentional discrimination, and mistreatment of detainees, wrongs borne disproportionately by African Americans. But on Fox, you're gonna love this. Despite their 24-hour schedule, they really only had time for the one report.
The DOJ now admitting hands up, don't shoot, never happened.
People have been fed a narrative.
Protesters who have been running around this country telling a lie.
The tsunami of misinformation and innuendo, boneheaded, non-fact-based rhetoric.
It never happened.
Did not happen.
It didn't happen that way. Wilson's been exonerated. Let's move on.
Let's move on! The Department of Justice found that the Flashpoint incident for protests did not happen the way some thought. Although in this second report, they did also document a tower of racially based kindling wood, years of unreasonable force, lighter fluid, and daily tossed lit cigarette butts of discrimination and harassment that could easily lend itself to the Flashpoint. But as the fire safety wardens of Fox suggest, let's just move on. But here's the thing. The anger is still there. The people couldn't move on at Fox. They demanded restitution at Fox.
Why isn't the media, which peddled that narrative, apologizing?
Obama, Sharpton, they should be held responsible for their incendiary rhetoric.
Fanning the flames, rushing to judgment.
Blood on their hands.
The damage was done, or the inflammatory rhetoric was used.
We saw members of Congress saying, hands up, don't shoot. And if one of them has so far apologized for misleading America, we haven't heard it.
I have not received a single, I am very sorry, for igniting racial conflict greeting card. I haven't seen one! The lesson Fox News is getting at is very clear. Wouldn't it be nice if people who jumped to conclusions and peddled a false, divisive, anger-stoking narrative had to apologize for misleading America? Now, here's where the gets real. I wonder if there's an analogous event where we could test Fox's fealty to this principle of restitution for aggrievement.
Does the word Benghazi ring a bell?
A bunch of new questions about Benghazi.
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 Benghazi, Benghazi.
First of all, Benghazi isn't Beetlejuice. You don't say it 3 times. But if you insist, okay, let's use that example. It's a tragic event where Americans died, like Ferguson. But if the analogy is to hold, who will play the role of nation-dividing, anger-stoking rhetoricians before the official government investigation was completed?
Special report investigates death and deceit in Benghazi.
Susan Rice willingly went along and lied on the Sunday chat shows.
The CIA warned that there might be an attack on the 9/11 anniversary. During the attack, they didn't send help that was waiting in Tripoli, or C-130, to assist these guys.
Coming up, they could have saved 4 Americans, but instead our government told them to stand down.
So basically, you're saying the government of the United States told its military, if I want to put this in a catchy, protesty kind of phrase, stand down, don't shoot. And Fox didn't restrict its anger-stoking to words because, let's face it, their older viewers who are hard of hearing also have a right to be mad. So Scary opens, and that burning Benghazi footage in a semi-continuous loop, like some kind of Fox News Yule log. Oh, they're running the burning compound footage again. It seems like Benghazi comes earlier and earlier every year. But of course, unlike Ferguson protesters, Fox wasn't being irresponsible and divisive. They just wanted the truth.
We have unanswered questions about Benghazi.
There are glaring questions that are unanswered.
Questions still remain unanswered.
There's questions about stand-down orders and so on. And here we are all this time later. We don't have the answers. So we still don't have the answers.
4 Americans are dead, and there are a lot of unanswered questions.
Well, your sentence construction says, I just want to know, but the tone says why the president had an ambassador whacked. Well, finally, on November 21st, 2014, they got their answers from an exhaustive report from the Republican-controlled House Intelligence Committee, answering those many questions. Did Susan Rice go on TV and try to deceive anyone? Report says no. Did the administration ignore credible warnings about that day's attack? Report says no. Was there a stand-down order or failure to rescue those individuals and send rescue planes? Report says no. Was there a massive intelligence agency cover-up? Report says no. Not CIA, not FBI, none of them. Which means all these elements in the 2-year Benghazi ragegasm were... What do you call it? What do you call it?
Tsunami of misinformation.
Right.
Non-fact-based rhetoric.
Yes, that, right. It's all those things. So it would only follow that, just like Fox demanded of any protester who said, hands up, don't shoot, the correct action for no stand down, don't shoot for Fox News now would be to...
Why isn't the media, which peddled that narrative, apologizing?
Yes! Why not? Yes! Oh, Eric, that's so true. Yes. And so, in the fateful days following that Republican House Intelligence Committee report, what did the Fox say? In fact, other than a couple of half-hearted efforts to on the Republican-led report, its contents went largely unnoticed on Fox. Even Megyn Kelly, who was, prior to that, desperately searching for answers, had the House Intelligence Committee chair, Mike Rogers, on her show 2 weeks after he released the Benghazi report, and never asked him about it once. Not once. Yes. The network, who used the word Benghazi like a clubhouse password. The official Republican-dominated House report on Benghazi was the only news story in 2 years that didn't remind them to talk about Benghazi. Which brings us once again to our main point of respect and appreciation. The beauty that is the ugliness of Fox News. They demand accountability for anger and divisiveness, whilst holding themselves entirely unaccountable for their anger and divisiveness. For 2 years, they used Benghazi as shorthand, as a symbol for the whole concept of a corrupt, lying, tyrannical, possibly murderous Obama White House. Kind of like other people used hands up, don't shoot as a symbol for systemic racism. And there's really only one difference between the two phenomena. Systemic racism actually exists.